Hello everyone, Cindy here with Monarch Mom DIY. Thank you so much for joining me today on my channel where I love to bring you the best tips and tools for creating beautiful home decor on a budget. Today I'm excited to bring you 5 more projects. These are budget Christmas home decor that have a high-end look at the end for a small amount of money. So with all that being said, let's get crafting. For today's first project, we are making a Christmas tree reverse canvas using an 8x10 wrapped canvas, some of these garland ties, and a bow for the top, as well as a cinnamon stick for our trunk. Now, the first thing you're going to want to do is remove all the staples around the back side of your canvas. You can use a staple remover like this. Sometimes you also need to use some pliers, but just go ahead all the way around and then unwrap the frame or the canvas off of the frame. And this is what we're going to use now on the front rather than hidden behind the canvas. If you do have some roughness from the staples, just take a little sandpaper and go ahead and smooth that out. So this is kind of what we're going to be doing here so we can get rid of a lot of that extra canvas and just go ahead and trim that down all the way around so that it will fit on the back of the canvas frame. There you can see I just need to trim a little bit more on each of the long and short sides. So now we've got it the size that we want it. I'm going to go ahead and use my Waverly Antique Wax to darken up the look of this frame. It's just a really easy way to elevate the look of any of your wooden projects. So you just brush it on and then wipe off the excess with a paper towel, and then it does dry pretty quickly. This gives a stain look without this smell of stain, and you can see it's on my mat there. It comes off really easily just with some water. Now I'm going to make a Christmas tree cutting these garland ties in different lengths. So it looks like I'm starting with about 6 inches, and then I originally was going to get smaller by 1/2 inch, but then I felt like it wasn't going to give me a tall enough tree. So I do end up going back and doing 5 3/4, then 5 1/2, then 5 1/4, then 5. So I get smaller by 1/4 inch each time, going all the way up to the top of my tree. Just giving you little glimpses here on how I'm measuring and then cutting these garland ties. These are Canadian pine, I think they're called, from Hobby Lobby. Then we're going to go ahead and take some hot glue. I'm going to put this hot glue gun in my Amazon storefront. It's amazing. It's a rechargeable, cordless. Just go all the way around the back of your frame and then lay it down flat on the canvas, and you can smooth it out so that it has a nice tight fit on your frame. Then flipping it back over, you'll go ahead and lay out the pieces of your tree and then start gluing those down onto the canvas. Now, if you don't want to make this exact thing, this is basically the same method you would use for any type of reverse canvas. So you could glue anything or even put vinyl or stencil words on that canvas backing. So here I'm just hot gluing the pieces of my tree all the way down. I'm using one of these pre-made bows from Dollar Tree. I'm going to glue it right there onto the frame so it's kind of like the top of the tree. I did decide to cut 1 or 2 more pieces of the garland just to make my tree a little wider there at the bottom. And then once we get our tree how we want it, I'm going to go ahead and take one of these cinnamon sticks from Hobby Lobby. I'm going to cut a piece, and then I'm going to glue it at the bottom to be my trunk. And here's my finished product. I love how versatile this is. You could definitely cut your garland ties in a different way to make a taller and skinnier tree, but I think this turned out really cute for little money. If If you are stopping by my channel for the first time today, welcome. I sure hope you'll consider sticking around by hitting that subscribe button. And I hope everyone will check their bell notifications to make sure they are set to all, so YouTube will let you know each time I upload a new video. My second project for today are these Christmas tag standing frames using 2 of these metal picture frames from Dollar Tree with the clips, some ribbon, some scrapbook paper, 2 of these wooden tags from Hobby Lobby, and you can use either some printables you buy online or the small pictures on the back of the calendars. So like I said, these are from Hobby Lobby. They're in the party section, and I'm just going to put a light layer of Mod Podge on the front and then spritz some water on my Christmassy scrapbook paper and smooth that out, let it dry, and then we'll come back and trim that. We're going to do 2 different signs, so I'm using 2 different types of a Christmas paper. Smooth it out, let it dry, and then with our Fiskars fingertip knife and a cutting mat, we're just going to flip it over, and it's amazing how these are so great, these knives. I just changed the blades on them and it cuts through this paper like butter. So just go ahead and trim around your tags, getting off any excess paper. And then whenever I do this, I also like to take a little sandpaper, and in a downward motion, I just like to sand the edges. Now these printables I've used before are from jenniferpugh.com, but they are the same size as the small pictures on the back of the Dollar Tree calendars. So I just have 2 small Christmas graphics here. I'm using this Scotch Create tacky glue, and I'm just going to go ahead and glue those onto the center of my tags. Then once they're dry and we're going to clip them on the frame there, I'm just going to decorate a little bit at the top of the frame using, again, those Canadian pine garland ties, some checked ribbon. I have 2 different colors of checked ribbon we're going to use on top of the greenery as well, just to give a little bit of decoration to the top of our frames. Once we have all those pieces ready, we're just going to use a little bit of hot glue. Glue 2 little pieces of the greenery, one kind of angling up, one angling down, and then we'll glue our bow right there on the top as well. These little frames are really cute and versatile and great for a farmhouse, and I love that you can clip different things to that clip. I did decide to just put a layer of Mod Podge over the top of my finished tags just for extra durability. And this is how they turned out. I think they're so cute and would make a great little like hostess gift for a Christmas gathering. For DIY number 3, I'm excited to show you another way to use these Magnolia Design Company stencils, a piece of scrap wood, some crimson chalk paint, and this Joy to the World sheet music I found free online. So the first thing I did with my scrap wood is I did sand it a little bit, then decided to give the entire surface, front, back, ends, sides, a coat of the Waverly chalk paint in the color crimson. It's a nice, bright, cheery Christmas red. Then I will link where I found this printable in the description box. It's just a picture image, so you can print it out whatever size you want. And it's just got a vintage look of Joy to the World sheet music. So after sanding my black a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and put a layer of Mod Podge. And I'm not worried about those 2 nail holes because the printable is going to cover that up. So a light layer of Mod Podge, spritz a little water on the back of the printable, and then center that down, smoothing it out, and then we'll let that dry completely. Now once it is dry, I'm going to take this Joy to the World stencil. This is from the Christmas quads from Magnolia, and I am going to fuzz it a little bit so it's not quite so super sticky. Center it down on our sign, which is really easy to do. And then we're going to use the black chalk paste to just go over this with the tiniest little amount, making sure it gets in all the spaces of the mesh stencil. And then we'll peel it up and see what beautiful image we have over the top of the sheet music. And that's as simple as it gets using this stencil on top of this sign. You can stage this with a little bit of greenery, and I just love it so much. If you love budget home decor and crafting on a budget, I hope you'll give this video a thumbs up to let YouTube know that this is content that you want to continue seeing. Project number 4 is another easy one that looks great. It's a hanging JOY Snowflake. I found these larger wood snowflakes at my local dollar store, but I've seen these at Michael's and Hobby Lobby as well. These letters are actually ones, I think they were from Target, and they were on clearance. Somebody donated them to the thrift store. But Michael's and Hobby Lobby and even Walmart have lots of wood letter options. So I just found the letters to spell the word joy, and I'm painting them with my white chalk paint. Then coming to my wood snowflake ornament, I'm going to darken it up with, you know, my favorite, the antique wax, and I'm just brushing it all on and then wiping off the excess. And I am going to go ahead and do the front side and the back side of my snowflake. Then once my snowflake is dry, just using my hot glue gun, I'm going to first center the O on the middle of my snowflake and then glue the J and the Y on either side just to get my word nice and centered. And then the rest of what I'm going to do is just take a little bit of my Christmas floral greenery, some berries, a pine cone, and I'm just going to dress up this snowflake a little bit more for Christmas, just adding little touches here and there. Again, this is customizable. If you just want to do a bow, if you want to leave it plain, you could do that as well. And part of the fun of crafting is being able to change your mind. I decided I didn't like that raffia, and I just wanted to add this small pine cone and a tiny little bit of greenery here at the bottom. So just rip things off and replace them as you see fit. The last thing I'm going to add is once I put the twine hanger back in, I am going to make a small simple bow out of the black and white gingham ribbon here and just hot glue this to the top of my snowflake just under where the hanger is attached. And here's our finished product. I just love things that look so great at the end, but only took a couple of dollars worth of supplies to make, and this is one of them. I want to thank everyone who entered my giveaway from last week's video. I'm going to show you here in just a moment who my 3 winners are. If you see your name, please be sure to send me an email by this Saturday, 8 p.m. That would be November 20th, 2021 at 8 p.m. Eastern Time to monarchmomdiy@gmail.com so I can get your crafting goodie box in the mail. Giveaway winner number 1 is Lazy Bunny Homestead. Her comment was, I'm a fairly new subscriber and I just love your videos. I loved the swag on this video. I have one daughter who's the love of my life. Winner number 2 is Millie Fisher. She commented last week, I have 2 children. My favorite project from this video was the nautical Christmas tree. And giveaway winner number 3 is Mary Beth. Her comment said, all really good projects. I was really impressed with the shim tree, however. Very new to me and it looked so beautiful. I have a son and a daughter. My daughter likes to craft with me. Project number 5 I have been wanting to make for a while. It is my favorite from this video. It is a wood cube advent calendar using 24 of the wood cubes from Dollar Tree, a DIY nativity set, some scrapbook paper, and stickers. So I went ahead and ordered a case of 24 of these from Dollar Tree online, picked them up in the store. And here you can see I'm just removing all of the drawers, and I'm going to start with the outside cubes first. Now, these steps will take a little while, but I feel like the look at the end is definitely worth the time it took to do all of my boxes with the antique wax. So here I'm just going to do the 4 sides to start with, and then the bottom. I paint one all the way on the outside and then set it aside, paint the second one, and then I will go back to the first one with paper towel and wipe off the excess. So that's kind of the method that I used. Paint one, let it sit while you paint a second one, then come back and wipe off the excess. So I did this for all 24 of the outside boxes, the outer edges, and the bottom for all 24. While those were drying, I decided to measure the inside cube, and it was about 2 3/4 inches square. So I decided to cut my squares of scrapbook paper at 2.5 inches. I am cutting 2 squares for each box, and you'll see why in a minute. So for my 6 different papers that I chose, I'm cutting 8 squares. Here you can see what it's going to look like on the outside front, and then what it's going to look like on the inside to cover up the die cut hole. These are my 6 papers that I'm cutting my squares from. Here now you can see the outside of my cubes are dry, so I'm also going to do the edges and the entire inside. Now this is totally optional, also customizable. So if you don't want to do antique wax, if you wanted to paint yours all white or red or green, or even use the truffle brown so you don't have to do the wiping off of the excess, whatever you want. I knew kind of in my head the look I wanted for this advent calendar, so I knew I was going to want all of my cubes to be the antique wax inside and outside. For the inside drawers, I am going to do the entire outside with the antique wax, but I decided to just go ahead and leave the inside the natural unfinished wood to save some time, and I didn't think it was necessary to paint those. So you can see I'm kind of taking my time to go around that top edge, and I'm just going to do all 4 of the sides of my box, and then we'll come back and do the bottoms. Now I'm going to start wood gluing my cubes together. I have seen these made in the shape of a Christmas tree. I've seen them made just in the shape of a, 4 rows of 6. I decided to do mine a little bit different, like with some different levels. But my first thing I did is I glued pairs of these boxes together. I worked really hard to make sure they were going to all fit pretty well together. And then once my pairs were dry, I started gluing sets of 4 together here. So it does, again, take a little bit of time. I really love this Tight Bond wood glue. It really does work pretty fast. So again, I have 24 cubes total. My rows, starting at the top and all the way pushed to the left, you'll see in a minute, are going to be 1, 2, 2, 5, 7, and 7. So that's how many are going to be in each of my rows. So just take your time gluing these together. I didn't need to use the clamps until later on. These were all lining up pretty well, and here you can see sometimes I had to switch one out. Now this is a DIY nativity from Dollar General last year. One of my sweet viewers sent this to me. And I'm going to just paint the entire surface, front, back, and all the little crevices white and let that dry. Now that I have my little drawers fitting inside the cubes. I have my paper squares laid out, and I'm going to use that Scotch Creates tacky glue again to center my one set of paper squares to the front of my cubes. And then remember, later on, I'm also going to put another piece inside the drawer. But for right now, I'm just getting all the squares on the fronts of my drawers. Here, I'm just measuring again the width of the little drawer. And I'm just putting a little mark at the center so that I can center my little drawer pull brackets. These are also in my Amazon storefront if you decide you want to order these to make yours as well. You do get 25 in the set. I'm only going to use 24. And I'm going to adhere these with E6000. Again, like I said, I'm going to center it right at the top of the paper and on the little mark that I made. These do come with screws also if you decide you have a little thicker wood that you want to use them on. You can use any sticker numbers to number your boxes. I just happen to have this sheet in my stash. So I'm going to use these circles, and I'm going to start with 1 at the top and 24 at the bottom. And I'm just going to line that up at the bottom right corner of each of my drawers. So you can see I started with 24, and then I'm just going to work my way up all the way to 1. Now this is the little stand that came with the Dollar General Nativity. I need to cut it in 3 different pieces because I'm going to split up my nativity pieces on 3 different levels of my advent calendar. So I'm going to put the camel and the wise men on one, the shepherd and the sheep on the other one, and then Mary, Joseph, and baby Jesus on another one. You can see how I've got my 3 different stair steps there. Now that everything else is dry on my drawer, I'm going to pull each drawer out and go ahead and use that same glue and glue the little piece at the back of the drawer to cover up the die cut shape. And here you can see, and then I did just leave them open a little bit so that they could fully dry. And I am so thrilled with how this turned out. I love the unique design with the levels where you can put the different components of the nativity. Like I said, this was from Dollar General last year. I hope they have them again this year. I think they're a super great value for $3. However, if you don't have that one or can't find it, there are lots of options for nativity sets at Hobby Lobby if you don't already have one in your stash. Here's another set that I have. I believe it was from Kohl's, the St. Nicholas Square, and you can see I just kind of set some of the figurines out on those same levels of the Advent calendar. Or if you want to just do normal like farmhouse Christmas decor, here's an idea using 2 of the trees and my Joy, Hope, Believe houses that I made in a previous video for my craft show. Thanks again so much for joining me today. Please let me know in the comments which of these projects was your favorite, and we'll see you next week. Take care.